You are listening to Talking Star Wars.
Hello, Star Wars fans. As always, this is Alex,
And I'm Connor.
and today we are talking Star Wars.
And we generally don't like to speak negatively about Star Wars. I
Yeah,
mean, we can evaluate and assess, but we do have a sub-series called Missed Opportunities, where there are certain possibly undercooked elements that deserve more time to breathe, more time to, I don't know, grow into things that are as cool as your Mandalorians and your Jedi and what have you.
yeah. We try to while we take a critical eye and investigate the themes, we try to enjoy Star Wars for what it is, while still calling out parts that are just have no value that we can see.
Mhm.
But at the same time, with so many cooks in this particular fictional kitchen, there are dishes that come out undercooked or underseasoned, and
Great analogy, yeah.
so in this, we want to look at a character who is compelling and interesting, but lacks quite the deftness that other characters do, and that is, as the title says, Supreme Leader Snoke.
Big Daddy Snoke. And, he...
Okay, we can continue, but Connor's not allowed to call him Big Daddy Snoke again.
Okay, I got it out once.
Okay.
So, yeah, Snoke, for all intents and purposes, is most likely a strandcast clone of Emperor Palpatine or some sort of genetic uh, creature, some placeholder that was made so that Palpatine could still have his fingers in the pie of the galaxy. And I think we can go back to Rise of Skywalker, where Palpatine is talking to Kylo Ren and says that he's been every voice that Kylo has heard in his head, and he speaks with the voices of Vader, Snoke, and Palpatine.
Yeah. So this is our missed opportunities about. Let's talk about who Snoke is and what we do know about him, and where we think Snoke could have been used better. So
So is he? I mean, we've talked about clones, and clones aren't exact carbon copies of who their source was.
that depends on the cloning
Yeah.
process. So we see Snoke really in only 3 works in a primary role. He is the primary antagonist of both Episode 7 and Episode 8, The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. He meets his demise in The Last Jedi, and we get some of his backstory and history with Ben Solo / Kylo Ren in the comic The Rise of Kylo Ren.
And then otherwise, he's in a tank on Exegol. Many Snokes are in a tank on Exegol.
Yeah. So, with the other expanded universe material having been released in The Mandalorian and in The Bad Batch and other places, we know that Palpatine, as one of his many plans and operations, so I mean, he had Project Stardust to produce the Death Star. He had Operation Cinder as a contingency plan to punish the galaxy if he were to die unexpectedly. He also had Project Necromancer, which was his attempt to gather cloning resources and attempt to clone himself and become an immortal Sith God Emperor King. That we mentioned God. Mm-hmm. So he wants to be a Sith God Emperor. And by continuing able to clone himself and put him into himself, his consciousness, into new clone bodies. So like body snatcher style. But it is almost impossible to successfully clone a force-sensitive body and have them maintain their force sensitivity.
Mm-hmm.
So Snoke appears to be, now as they flushed out the canon, having realized that they sort of missed the boat with Snoke and not really explaining who he was, they've been trying to fill in the gaps post-ipso facto.
Mm-hmm. It's the whole entire reason why Grogu, the baby Yoda, has been introduced. They're the cloning arm of the Empire, the Imperial Remnant, is trying to get baby Yoda's DNA because he is so chock full of the M cells, the midichlorian count cells, that they think that will make a Emperor clone possible.
Yeah, so Snoke, we know of 2 clones of Palpatine. We're going to assume Snoke is a clone of Palpatine based on what we see in Exegol.
Yeah.
So we don't actually know of 3 successful clones.
Mm-hmm.
We have Dathan, who is Rey's father, who is a successful clone, not deformed, not mentally stable, not dissolving into a pile of limbs and goo or whatever it was these other clones happened, not confined to a machine.
Not fingerless like a later Palpatine will see.
But with absolutely no force sensitivity whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
No metachlorians, no nothing. Maybe passes on the genetic predisposition to his daughter, but can't accept Palpatine's soul.
Mm-hmm.
The next one we see is Snoke, who, while powerfully dark side force sensitive, his body is deformed. We have no idea how stable he is.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm actually going to make a callback to another semi-canon piece of media. We're not really confirmed in live action that Snoke was a clone of Palpatine, but in Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga, as you walk around that level, there is totally a cloning facility where you can combine and clone together Snoke in that level, basically confirming that Snoke is a clone of Palpatine.
I think we all know that, as we said in our previous, as we said in one of our previous episodes on Star Wars video games, the Star Wars Lego games are 100% the canonical story that is being told, and the movies and shows are just adaptations of what happens in Lego Star Wars.
Yeah, like Lego is the true canon.com.
Yes.
So Snoke definitely seems to be okay. We've got the force sensitivity down, but there's this deformity, and was his mind just not in a position where you could take Palpatine's consciousness?
Mm-hmm.
So instead, he becomes sort of a cat's paw. And then the third clone we see is the one of the Palpatine that we see in the Rise of Skywalker, where has Palpatine's consciousness, has his force powers, but is confined to this machine to keep his body alive. Mm-hmm. So, we see the progression of clones of Palpatine going on as he continues to find a body.
So, looking at Snoke as a character, he fulfills that role of the big baddie, the main antagonist, but he is taken out in The Last Jedi, and a lot of people were less than enthused when Palpatine returned, because Palpatine returned off screen. Somehow Palpatine returned.
Yeah, I would have been fine with Snoke. Like, hey, there's another clone of Snoke that turns out is right. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Snoke reveals that he was a clone of Palpatine the whole time, and was actually Palpatine. It was just faking being Snoke. Also interesting. Mm-hmm. This hard delineation without explanation between them is problematic.
Yeah,
I am fine with him dying in The Last Jedi. It gives like Kylo staging a coup to seize control of the First Order. Very interesting. Mm-hmm. But then having Palpatine come back and not really explaining Snoke except with a couple of throwaway lines, not the most satisfying.
Mm-hmm. Out of fear of ending this episode too early, my thoughts on how to redeem Snoke as a character come at many potential moments in The Last Jedi, because that movie needs something of a hook. It needs something to get the audiences back in and invested to watch Rise of Skywalker, because with Empire Strikes Back, we have this incredible moment, spoilers, but we learn that Luke Skywalker is the son of Darth Vader. In Attack of the Clones, we start the Clone Wars. We have this forbidden marriage take place between Anakin and Padme that we know is going to fall to just utter ruin in the next film. At the end of The Last Jedi, we don't really know what to expect from The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, so Kylo Ren has seized the role of Supreme Leader of the First Order. What are his goals? Mm-hmm. We know Snoke is dead. Is he going to train an apprentice? We know that the Resistance has escaped, but what are they going to do? Mm-hmm. So
having a moment in The Last Jedi where I like your idea of Snoke is executed. If it happened immediately after or it happened at the end of the movie, they have another Snoke come out from behind the curtain and just be like, well, sorry about that. Your plans are a little bit thwarted. That movie is all about subverting expectations. Their whole entire purpose of killing off Snoke is to subvert expectations. So what if instead of having this ultimately powerful villain, what if you have a villain who could be slain, but it doesn't matter because there are 100 of him in tubes throughout various planets or back in Exegol. But at this moment, either learning that, I am not Snoke, I am something much darker and much greater. That would be excellent. Just a little bit of anything to kind of give us some connective tissue between what's happening in The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker. This is pie in the sky thinking because we're coming from, two films written and directed by different individuals. So, of course, having that crossover in between is not the best, but it would have been excellent if after executing Snoke, after thwarting all of his guards, uh, having another Snoke just come out from behind that red curtain and start clapping.
Yeah, this actually reminds me of a middling Arnold Schwarzenegger movie from the early 2000s called The Sixth Day,
Ah,
where human cloning is illegal, but is of course performed by our villains, and so we have a couple of henchmen that keep getting um, sent out and killed by
mhm.
Arnold through the whole movie, and just they keep getting recloned and sent back with their memories intact each time after their bodies are recovered.
Mhm.
So just as a reference, so I would totally be down for Snoke to just keep coming back. And they have to find where is our source of our cloned Snokes coming from. And it
Mhm.
turns out this is Palpatine behind it all.
Yeah.
Like, I need the revelation of Palpatine being this alive as Darkseid clone to not be in the opening crawl of the movie.
Yes.
And to have Snoke's role actually explained. Like, why was he
Mhm.
trying to corrupt Ben Solo? Why did he hate Luke Skywalker so much?
Mhm.
What did the First Order exist for? And just, I'm fine with like, oh, it's the dark side evil force ghost of Palpatine in a clone body, sort of directing everything behind the
Mhm.
scenes.
Which is eventually kind of what we get,
I
what
mean,
we're piecing together.
I'm fine with that. I
Yeah.
also would have been fine if Snoke was just a non-Sith dark side force sage that emerged from the far end of the galaxy to try to seize
Mhm.
control, whether or not he had any connection with Palpatine or not. But we have to live in the Star Wars universe we're given,
Right.
and that means Snoke is deeply tied to Palpatine, even if
Mhm.
he himself is not a Sith.
I'd like to return to that idea in a bit of just what if he wasn't Palpatine, but to flesh out what again what could have happened. Like
Yeah,
say you have the most of the events of the Last Jedi take place, but we get one final scene at the end after Rey is on the Falcon with the rest of the Resistance. We have an angry Kylo go back to his new throne room, but sitting on the throne there is Snoke. Uh, Maybe he's looking a little bit different. Maybe he's healthier. Maybe he is not so. He is more ravaged. But just learning, yeah, some line like the Empire was once mine, the galaxy was mine, and it will be again. Just a little bit of something, a little bit of sowing the seeds of Palpatine would have been
yeah.
nice.
I mean, okay, so if this is our missed opportunities episode, and I can have Snoke do what I want,
Hmm.
so I don't really need to change Snoke's role in The Force Awakens.
Hmm.
He's the big glowing hologram man behind the man. It's fine.
Yeah.
In The Rise of Skywalker, I'm also fine with him trying to want to murder Kylo and force Kylo to kill Rey to finally kill all the Jedi. I want a stronger motivation for him to do that. But I would really have Snoke just be a really powerful dark side sage from a non-Sith tradition that's, now that Palpatine is out of the way, was able to rise and sort of worm his way into the First Order as their leader.
Hmm.
So Palpatine's program failed, Project Necromancer fails, and so Snoke just arrives and makes himself Supreme Leader by taking over this Imperial remnant and forging them into a weapon. So I want Snoke to have been in hiding on some planet and then arise, and he has this. He was hunted by the Jedi in the past and hunted by Palpatine. Palpatine's dead, so now
Hmm.
he has this vociferous hatred of Jedi for them, you know, hunting him, however X many years ago, back during
Hmm.
their heyday. And so that's why he really wants to kill Rey, why he really wants to kill Luke. It just gives him a personal motivation beyond, I am the villain and the Jedi must die.
So he could be this old Republic dark side villain, something that has existed maybe before the Sith or alongside the Sith. But if we go on this arc, how is the Rise of Skywalker shaped? Because ostensibly we wouldn't have a reveal of Rey being a Palpatine if Palpatine's not in the picture. So do we have Snoke falling in The Last Jedi and we make the Rise of Skywalker more about Kylo versus Rey? Do we have Snoke survive The Last Jedi? Where would you see that fall?
Yeah, so in that case, I'm still fine with Snoke dying, and I'm also fine with Snoke being cloned. But then the whole Exegol piece becomes unnecessary, and I think you just lean more into Supreme Leader Snoke versus Rey, and focusing on those two characters and not them bonding to face a third party.
You mean Supreme Leader Ren?
Yeah, Supreme Leader Ren. Yeah, because that was one of the more interesting parts. Is petulant Kylo taking the necessary actions to become Supreme Leader
Hmm.
and bending the First Order to his will. I want to see him mismanage the First Order,
Hmm.
utilize their resources in his fruitless crusades, while Rey and the Resistance take advantage and confrontation between Rey and Kylo. So
Hmm.
maybe yeah, but making Snoke this, just give him a monologue where he's like, and I was trapped for X number of years
Hmm.
in this prison, and then I escaped, and now I've seized control of Palpatine's war machine, and they shall do my bidding, and the Jedi
Hmm.
will fall, and I shall be blah blah, and then just have Kylo kill him on that. That's fine.
Yeah.
Uh, so that's my take on Snoke
Hmm.
is still leave him powerful. Maybe he's a clone or something that lives if you want to largely maintain the structure of the Rise of Skywalker.
Hmm.
But otherwise, I just lean much more heavily again into the Rey Kylo dynamic.
Sure. Well, taking a look at the script from Colin Trevorrow's unfilmed third installment of this sequel trilogy, there is no Snoke, there is no Palpatine. There is a holocron, Sith holocron that Palpatine made that said, "Hey, Vader, if I die, go seek out my teacher on this planet. It's definitely not a dark side Yoda." And then it's like, "Wait a second, you're not Darth Vader." And then the holocron sort of electrocutes Kylo. He becomes disfigured, and then has to go to this planet to talk to a creature who lives on top of another monster's head and learn how to commit the force power of life drain. And so he life drains this tiny puppet and heals his face. So, not saying it has to be that, but giving Kylo Ren uh, motivation, giving him, now that he is Supreme Leader, what does he want to do? He's still pretty utterly destroyed by murdering his father and not having Rey at his side. Uh, what do you get the man who has everything? So, seeing his character develop would have been great because what we get in the Rise of Skywalker is still strong. Seeing him talk to Han Solo in a sort of a dreamscape vision internal place is great, is helpful. But seeing him interact with the First Order more and getting an idea of what is his position as Supreme Leader, that would be the way to follow up Snoke. Just giving Kylo Ren his own final film arc.
Yeah, we get interesting things about Snoke too. In the comic I mentioned, The Rise of Kylo Ren, we see his base of operations is on the Axamine station, where dark side plants just writhe across the whole area, and he himself is there as like a gardener of evil plants. And it's sort of this, it's before he becomes Supreme Leader of the First Order, so it is a interesting look at Snoke. And I would have been fine with him having lived aboard the Axamine station and then falling in with the First Order and seizing control of it. That
Mm-hmm.
would be a good arc for him. And I guess if we have to involve Palpatine, though, again, I'm always leaning on the side of Palpatine could have stayed dead and I would have been fine.
Mm-hmm. There's one tiny shred inside me that's like, okay, Palpatine's the villain of all three trilogies. I kind of like that. Kind of like that. Kind of like that a little bit. Because if you have Palpatine, the third one better not be Snoke. It better be something very different and very uh, much equally as threatening. And Snoke being a copy of Palpatine, not just a clone, but a structural storytelling copy, does not make him a memorable character. So if you're not going to have it be the Emperor, really make Kylo Ren turn into that brooding new figure, just the Darth Vader if he had never failed. Um, that'd be interesting. Or make him just feed that into the clone story just a little bit more, just a little bit more. As you said, as we said, time to cook.
Yeah. And I'd want to see the Knights of Ren having a larger presence, along with Snoke commanding them as more than just faceless goons,
Mm-hmm.
giving them a motivation as well. So we just want more.
Yeah.
Like, what are Snoke's motivations? Why does he have these praetors around? What is
Mm-hmm.
he, other than just conquering the galaxy and killing all the Jedi, what does he want? And
Mm-hmm.
if that's just what he wants, that's fine. But then, find some original goals, man.
Yeah. And just as a, you know, talking a little bit about the Knights of Ren, how excited were you to learn about the Knights of Ren and how we have this Kylo Ren, but there's also 6 others who are equally as interesting and never mind.
Yeah, well, we actually do get personalities and such for the Knights of Ren in the comic series, both the 2020 Marvel comic series, where they're involved in Kira's attempt to overthrow the Empire, which doesn't work. We know that they're relatively weak dark side users that are just not a threat to Vader and Palpatine at all, but are force-sensitive force users, and that Kylo eventually takes control of them through the violent coup and becomes their leader.
They didn't have to be weak force users. They could be these formidable forces. I think about if you ever played Dark Souls, you have to combat maybe a half a dozen Black Knights that are strewn throughout the game map. And every time you do, the first time that you meet them is a very tense, clenching moment. So imagine having, I don't know, just moments throughout that trilogy, or even throughout Rise of Skywalker, where we have, oh no, there is a Knight of Ren, this ring wraith, this utter absence of, like, if you're going to make them an absence of character, don't make them absent in presence. Give them a truly threatening, imposing presence. So, that way it's not just Snoke and his stormtroopers and his guards, but no, Snoke has a small legion of Knights of Ren bodyguards who each have a different weapon, each have a different disposition, and
I would have made it the Knights of Ren that are in the throne room, not the Praetors. So, yeah. So overall, as we come over to the missed opportunity of Snoke, his motivation is relatively unclear. Need that cleaned up. I would need either his relationship to Palpatine strengthened and explained, or removed. Not in this weird quasi area it is now.
Right.
I would want, if he is a clone, to go all 6th day on this and just have multiple clones of Snoke keep popping up. Like, if we have a cloned villain, lean into that.
Yeah, give us an Agent Smith moment from the second Matrix where Snoke is giving a monologue, but it's delivered by several different Snokes.
Don't even need that, but even if it's just one Snoke at a time. But
exactly.
Next bottom in the line, I mean, that would even tie into other cloning technology we see in the expanded universe, such as from Silo 4, who literally Vader killed him like 4 times, and his cloned bodies kept coming back. So do the same thing with Snoke. The technology exists. He's one of Silo's experiments or something like that. Just, again, I don't... You either have to really, if he's a failed clone of Palpatine, fine. Lean into that. Tell us, Snoke was a failed clone of Palpatine with me, and now, with what I learned from having Snoke's body, I may now take this other physical form until you bring me my granddaughter. Or, now that Snoke is dead, I may arise from the darkness and seize my true throne after he usurped my position. Or, look, the next Snoke 3 coming out of his tube, now to take control again, and Kylo has to fight Snoke.
I appreciate that we not once said that it would be great if he was Darth Plagueis, the Wise, because...
One, Darth Plagueis was a Mun, a different race entirely. I mean, it could make sense, because I hope Darth Plagueis was going to learn the way to cheat death, but Snoke is not the method by which he would do so. Yeah,
Palpatine's works dirty. He doesn't mind if he has to inhabit a burnt-fingered, half-a-body clone in order to keep going. I just get the sense that Plagueis the Wise would have wanted to have his own life extended. And also just like, the villain was the Emperor's master. And what does the Emperor's master want? Well, it's pretty much the same thing that the Emperor wanted.
Galactic domination.
Yeah, so here's hoping that when we do get a New Republic, New Jedi Order movie, that we get a thrilling villain. That's why Thrawn is so interesting. He's not the Emperor. He is, just personality-wise, character base-wise, very different from the Emperor. So, give us something different.
Any other final thoughts on the missed opportunity of Snoke, Supreme Leader of the First Order?
As much as I love The Last Jedi, I don't love Snoke. So, it was a good opportunity just to consider what could have been done. And, I've seen plenty of fan comic books out there who have rewritten stories, so who knows, listeners, if these ideas will permeate and we'll get to see something like this in the future. But until then, we have our own headcanons, I suppose, where, uh, you know, Snoke was this extra galactic being, or he was Palpatine's clone. You know, we could fill in the backstory from there at least. Any final thoughts from you?
Just that some more explanation of his character, some more consistency, and like stuff that went well, like the quick jolt of Force lightning to
Mm-hmm.
discipline people, just to show that he can do Force lightning was cool.
Yeah.
Give us more casual displays of his strength and why he has his position.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, right now he's just a big talking hologram.
Yeah.
And Andy Serkis, you did great with what you were given, but just I wanted you to give a motive monologue for
Mm-hmm.
Snoke. So
Yeah. Oh well. Until next time, Star Wars fans, when we talk in a brighter light of things that we enjoy.
thank you for listening.
We'll see you sometime soon in a galaxy right here.